Hey everybody, it's Cowboy. We got Ben Kelleran with us. Look in the description. We got a couple of juicy things in there for you. First of all, free Algo by Algo Factory. I put together an algo for you all to take a look at. You can watch me make it, watch me turn it into code using Grok, and then you can see the type of programs that traders use to connect their algos to their exchanges. And I'd say even more importantly, we have Ben Kelleran's Substack website, everything in there. I think it's your Substack and your X that I have in there, Ben. But either way, Ben is somebody who I've talked with you. The kind of information that you have just like ready to go in your head without even looking it up is impressive. There are a few people who understand the broader energy market in a way that you do. So we're always happy to have you on, Ben. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It's been interesting couple of months, but I think we'll have to wait and see if all the stuff that's happening in the energy markets does turn out to be what the consensus narrative is, or if it's going to be wrong in 2026. But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in markets, a lot of interesting stuff going on in politics. But I think I don't know how much you've seen some of this on social media, but it seems like there's been a bit of a mudslinging fest over the whole Tucker Nick Fuentes interview.
You know, I've seen it, and there's a lot of like hyperventilating and we got to get Tucker. Like, what's going on? I don't listen to Nick Fuentes. I mean, I've heard a couple things he said, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like something I would like to hear, which makes me wonder if I really should listen to him. Because anymore, like if you hear something you really like to hear, it's like, oh crap, well, this is aimed at me. So let me know if you could, or the audience as well, what happened there.
Well, I don't listen to Nick or his shows either, but I do listen to Tucker and basically almost all of his podcasts, not because I think he's like 100% the best source of information, but I think he's one of the sources of information that gets through to what you can call like the conservative elders, or basically the boomer population, conservative right, whatever you want to call it. His message, I think, is very deliberate in you see what he's been saying about Israel and the conflict over there. You see what he's been saying about current events. He's been very critical of the Trump administration, and that's not an accident. But when you have someone like Nick Fuentes show up, like, look, I don't spend a bunch of time listening to some of the stuff he says, but like his clips have been showing up more on my social media, and he's definitely a guy where he has like the charisma, ability to talk into a microphone and be interesting for hours at a time. And he says a bunch of things that most people don't have the stones to say. So
right,
it is interesting to see Tucker basically get him on the podcast, and you see the reaction from the conservative ink types that are right. The thing that drives me nuts in the reaction to it is they haven't conserved anything my entire life, but really for the past 60 years. And they're basically just the left driving the speed limit, as some smart people like to say, where it's like, okay, have you done anything on immigration or abortion or lockdowns, like any of these different topics? And it's like, no. So what's the point in trying to appease these people? So I think it's kind of interesting. We'll see. There is definitely a opinion gap in the opinions between younger people on the right and people that are in the so-called conservative establishment. But I thought his Tucker podcast or interview, whatever you want to call it, is definitely worth the listen. But it just kind of depends on where all this stuff goes. I think one of the things that I'm going to keep harping on is over the next 5-10 years, I think you're going to see a massive shift in, call it the zeitgeist or Overton window or whatever, but what the political discourse is, or what is okay to talk about, I think is going to continue to shift pretty rapidly over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, we can say we can call Israel out for things that used to get shows canceled. That's a big start.
Well, yeah, if you go, I mean, it's been 3 years. you go back 3 years, a little over 3 years, I guess, right? Some of the stuff you see on Twitter now, like I thought that would take a lot longer than it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think as that starts to hit escape velocity, or like more people, or whatever you want to call it, like there's more people waking up to it. I think that's only going to accelerate, right? The news doesn't seem to happen on um, mainstream media channels anymore. It's more, okay, what is happening right now is kind of like it's on Twitter and people are talking about it there. But it is interesting. It's just something to pay attention to. Where, like, do I agree with everyone Tucker's takes? No, but is he generally trying to nudge things in the right direction? I think so. Yeah, Trucker is the new mustache man, or Tucker is the new mustache man from John Michael. There, that's the funny thing. Like when you have what someone's basically kind of laid this out, where no matter what you do, if you're more right wing and like white male and straight, like you're basically going to get targeted no matter what. And their favorite mechanism is Nazi, or it's
Doesn't work anymore.
well, that's the thing, is it doesn't work. It's like the
No one cares.
I think someone was calling it, was it the transitive property of Hitler, where it's like Hitler drank water and you drink water, and so it's like
Yeah, Hitler had a dog. I have a dog.
yeah, exactly. Like, okay, this is just getting out of control. It's Hitler's all the way down, but
Well, no one cares anymore. It just doesn't work like it used to.
that's the thing, is like
they've worn it out.
You wear out that button just like they've wore out the like racist button, and it's like, oh, it works for a long time and then it doesn't, and now they don't know what to do. So I think that's one of the things to pay attention to, is the kind of conservative media and podcast space and all this other stuff. It's going to be very interesting to see how it kind of develops from here, because right, the people that are established and high up and have positions and money and power in like the conservative, like talking head hierarchy, right, they're not getting any younger, and neither is their audience.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just one of the key divides is it goes back to the way that that we see other countries that have sway over us, and how much sway they should have, and what's appropriate and what's not, and in particular Israel. You know, and I don't mean to be beaten up on Israel all show, but why is it that so many important positions in our country have dual citizenships with Israel? And it's not, I mean, imagine if all of those positions had dual citizenships with China.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is like,
no one wants to talk about that. If they had dual citizenships with Russia, it'd be all we ever heard about.
Well, I think the whole Russian thing is basically a blood feud that goes back a long ways. But you're right, though, that it is like, we're not going to get anywhere talking about the double standards that exist for people on the left on a variety of topics. But the dual citizenship thing, I think, is pretty much a layup as far as getting people to back that politically, where it's like, yeah, we don't want anyone with dual citizenship in Congress or the cabinet or anywhere near like the halls of power, right?
Yeah, the rule's good enough for president. Why not anything else?
Yeah. It is. We'll see where it goes, but there was to shift to markets a little bit. The thing that I thought was interesting, there was someone who was talking about Palantir, and they're talking about the valuation. I think it briefly passed MasterCard and ExxonMobil in market cap. And I think someone was saying, is that was it 137 times sales? So it's like 460 billion market cap right now. I think the revenue is like 4 billion or something. Down a bit today, but I think yesterday is when that happened.
That's ridiculous.
And it on one hand, so here's the thing, and this is where you can get in the rabbit holes of markets and how they connect with geopolitics. Where do I understand 100% what Palantir does? No, but I don't think any public market investors really do. And I think part of what the bet is that you're betting on the technology platform of effectively the alphabet soup agencies of the US and Western civilization, right? And I don't know what that's worth, but is it going to grow very rapidly over the next several years? Yeah. And is it going to be pretty? I mean, this is a stock that was like, what, $10 when it came out? Well, it was not IPO. They did like a direct listing or something. Yeah, like $9 in late 2020. I think I owned shares for a time and then sold it like 18 or 20 or something. Thought I was smart. But point is, you look at Palantir, and I think that's part of the bet is like, okay, if I can own a piece of CAA and NSA Corp or whatever, right? Go down the list, right? If I can own a piece of that, right? I think that's part of the logic, even if it completely ignores like the valuation. So,
well, yeah, I know V is really into like he sweeps the floors over at the NSA, right?
yeah,
I do.
So
I've heard he's a big Palantir fan.
Oh, dude, you've got you have. Well, gosh, well, let's not go off the rails.
I'm Peter Thiel's Mister. Not a mistress, but a Mister.
Mister, you like? Are you saying that you have like a machine that's a fan and it blows water into the air and keeps you cool? Is that you're a Mister?
No, I'm talking about in a relationship.
Male mistress.
Exactly.
Okay, off the rails.
Yeah, we only made it 12 minutes this time. But
12 minutes.
He showed me. He dropped his pants and showed me his Antichrist.
Okay. That's enough. Give it like the last minute.
Yeah.
The last minute.
Yeah, no, but the point is with the Palantir stuff, like it's basically a bet that like software consulting technology, all that stuff tied to government agencies is going to work. And it ignores the fact that the valuation doesn't make sense. But I don't know if you guys saw this. Michael Burry,
yeah,
the Big Short guy,
80% of his puts.
He's got 2/3 of his portfolio in the most recent 13F or whatever. Basically, $900 million worth of Palantir puts. So,
it's beautiful.
We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But
I got respect for the guy. Most everything I know about him comes from the movie The Big Short. So, I do have limited knowledge. But what the one thing that happened in that was that Michael Burry, genius that he is, and he is a fundamental, investor, if you will, although he's obviously taking some very different kinds of risks than the average fundamental investor. But ultimately, he's a quant, and he's looking at the numbers. And what he didn't account for in 2008 that almost tanked him was the fact that the numbers can just be held up, not indefinitely, but far, far longer than your fund can stay solvent. Vither Gorilla, can you remind us why 2008, why the bottom actually fell out?
Well, that's because a bunch of people bought subprime mortgages, and that's why.
That's why.
No,
you see all the bad loans. They're irresponsible.
It was the Mexican drug cartels pulled out a couple of $1 billion in liquidity out of banks that were servicing them. Those banks collapsed. Those banks also held a daisy chain of mortgage-backed securities with other larger banks, and boom, here we go. The 2008 financial collapse begun. That's the actual truth on the ground.
See, think about it this way. You watch the movie, and they don't really talk about that. They just tell you
that's why I'm creating a documentary that's a rebuttal to The Big Short. It's called The Short Jerk.
I thought you were going to say The Big Long. Either way, it's not good. I would say it this way. Like, you watch the movie, and, he places the bets, and he's like negative, I don't know how many percent. He ends up having to lock his fund down so that nobody can sell and nobody can get out. And, of course, everybody now wants to sue him. And then it ends up going down, and the world goes how it was quote unquote supposed to go, right? And he makes 400% in the fund, and he's a hero. Well, the reality is, at least if not the reality, but the evidence we have based on V the Gorilla, who you spend I don't know how many days a week on Wall Street. or with Wall Street people.
I was a fry cook at Burger King, and I worked as a
you sweep the floors at the
boy.
NSA. We talked about this already.
Yes, I also worked as a stock boy.
Stock boy, like not even like stocks and bonds, but just like literal stocking, like shelves.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if with the evidence we have here before, if the cartels really took their money out and the liquidity problem was caused by that, and everything fell, ultimately that being the pin that popped a massive bubble, you got to think about that. What would have happened if there was no cartel issue, right? Burry would probably be bankrupt. Possibly. Nothing could have just kept going up because the rating agencies, Moody's and whatever the other one is, they just kept rating these loans as AAAs. They're all good loans. Yeah. No. The rating agency said, like, they couldn't talk about that. They allude to it in the movie. So, just understand that we don't have that cartel situation at this point, or if we do, they probably know how to, defend against it. And everything is way, I mean, look, we're almost 20 years from 2008. You don't think they learned from that? So if you want to go short on the 3-letter agencies, I wish you luck. Because guess what they can just do? They could just keep pumping that market right into your shorts and cause a squeeze. And then your entire company goes belly up. Now, is Burry accounting for that? I don't know.
I don't know if he is still managing outside money or if he basically shut it down for outside investors at this point. I'd have to ask around, but I do know that he's got a very different approach on some of the stuff and is very willing to take an out of consensus view, which again, like, I'm not saying it's worth the brain damage trying to short Palantir or Nvidia or any of that stuff, but if you have any attention on the valuation on some of these things, is it worth owning those? Probably not. But again, I think it's interesting to see kind of the intersection there of politics and markets a little bit, where, right, if you talk to people that are long Palantir and have been long for the last 12 months, I'm not sure you'd get a good description from anyone on what the company does, right? Not that I could give like an exact description either, but it's basically a black box of an investment,
Yeah, the way I heard it, not from a mechanical standpoint, but like just a 30,000-foot view, they're good at following money. Everybody, and they may be better at more things, but what apparently is at least knowable is that their software, is really good at following like money, who's bought what, who owns what, who's invested where. That at least is supposedly known. What goes beyond that? Yeah, I don't know. They're looking at digital IDs and are we going to end up freaking Minority Report and all the stupid shit that everybody cries about all the time that we're going to end up at anyway, no matter what.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it'll be tough to make a great fundamental case for a lot of these companies, but there's a bunch of weird distortions in the market with passive and whatnot that a lot of this stuff can just keep going on and on and on. So, but yeah, that's kind of didn't have much on market thoughts today. I mean, they obviously had the interest rate cut last week, which was no surprise. Was kind of interesting to see the long end of the yield curve bump up, but I mean, I've been in the camp that we're headed for higher rates long term on the long end. Like, I don't really have a strong opinion on like the next 12 months on that side of things. But I think we're basically on the path as things stand now for double-digit inflation, double-digit rates, or we get yield curve control to suppress rates and so-called inflated away. But
we've got yield curve control now.
Well, I'm saying it's going to get very severe, where it's just basically late 1940 style type deal, where I think it was negative rates to the tune of, I think it was like well over 10%. So like financial repression at a extreme level, and we'll see kind of where it goes. But that was kind of the thing that I thought was interesting on some of these. Like everyone's kind of expecting rates to come down, and I kind of look at it as like, okay, if they come down, how far, and for how long, and where do they go after that? But there's no. I mean, I don't know if rates or bond markets were ever really free markets, but I don't think it makes sense to pretend that there's not certain groups in there putting their thumb on the scale on a lot of these things. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's who knows when the rates go too low, you get inflation. We already have inflation now. If that spirals out of control, then it's just what they wanted. Now, obviously, the wealthy make money on inflation, and they cannot make money without inflation. It's just a question of how hot will they let it run before things, because ultimately it's going to come down to they got to make money, but shit's going to break, right? So the they got to make money curve is going to asymptotically approach the shit's going to break curve, because when shit breaks, you can't make money. So it's just a question of how long that takes. And then we'll probably see a changeover in the system, and Palantir and digital IDs, and they're gonna cram a microchip up your ass.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be whatever it is.
Are you ready for the blue wave, Ben?
well, I think that gets into the fix-it politics I've kind of alluded to in the past, but was talking to a buddy over the weekend about some of the legal stuff, obviously, like Memdani and some of these other things.
I can't wait for
and
anyone.
I mean,
It's gonna be epic.
there's part of me where it's like, okay, like the city deserves it.
Yeah,
part of-
dude,
part-
it's the
yeah,
Molotov cocktail, brother. Let it rip. The
Well,
whole
that's the
fucking
thing
thing.
is-
Let it burn.
Let it burn.
Is I don't know if there's like right. It's much easier to like fix it versus like you have to let it like turn into a dumpster fire before fixing it, because when you basically have a politician like Memdani that is a gay race communist, as my friend Will Tanner likes to call him, but
A gay race.
communist.
Gay race communist. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Basically,
like
it's
a model citizen right there.
it is a shorthand version for like this person is a, how do I explain it? Basically very leftist, willing to play the race card, and I guess global homo is kind of the closest version, where it's like this person's a globalist, they don't give a shit about the country, and they're definitely not fighting for the heritage Americans, so to speak.
He's so gay and racist, they made it a new term. He's gayist.
Yeah. But that kind of brings me to conversation I was having with a friend over the weekend about all this stuff. And I think I'll set aside like the whole Caesar thing for the time being, but I think we're getting into a point where we're getting fix-it politics. I think that's the stage we're kind of heading into, where people are going to start to get fed up enough to say, fix it, and I don't care how it happens. And this is where Fab Guy with important question. I would go with the 2025.
I thought you said fat guy with an important question. I'm like, bro.
No.
He
No.
could be an 85 gay. I'm not sure.
I think it would be more
No, I think he's more like
1965, like civil rights era type, if you have to go back far enough. Otherwise, I would say it's more modern. But I think we are getting to a point where it's like fix-it politics, and we were talking about, hey, like I think we're getting to a point where people will sign up for like a Bukele type approach to fixing the crime situation, fixing the SNAP benefits and EBT shit, and fixing handouts for immigrants, and fixing all this stuff. And right when you have judges saying, "Oh, that's not allowed," like constitutional, blah blah blah, all these different things, I think a huge portion of the country is just going to say, "Yeah, we don't care. We want it fixed. We don't care what the law says. We don't care if this person has like citizenship. Like, we don't want Ilhan Omar in office. We don't want.
But what about the Somalian community in Minneapolis, Ben? Don't you care?
Well,
Let it burn.
That's the thing is like
Like, what do you have
you go
against
back
Somalians?
20, 30 years ago, and it was basically non-existent, and it's a right. It's not organic that people from Africa basically just start appearing in one of the coldest places on Earth.
Hey, dude, like, what the fuck?
It's like-
It's not Florida. It ain't like South Texas. It
No,
ain't like
no.
Southern California. It's like one of the most coldest places in the country where it's so damn cold during the winter. They have like tunnels and tubes connecting buildings across streets. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's the funny part is like you talk to like I've had guys that I've talked to in the past where it's like, yeah, we're not like it's too cold up here to stay in the winters and stuff like that. It's like, look, Somalians in Minnesota, not organic. Dearbornistan, not organic. And all these different places where you see what effectively has been the so-called like great replacement agenda. It's all one of those things where I think we're getting to a point where enough people are going to say fix it. And like, I hope we're getting to that point on H-1Bs where it's, okay, this company is basically the snake eating its own tail, where they basically are firing workers here, which are also consumers, and offshoring jobs to India. And it's going to be something where, the quality is going to go down of the product or service. It's eventually going to be an issue as far as consumption levels. But these companies, like I was talking to guy on the phone on, was it Friday or Saturday? I think it was either FedEx or UPS, and they announced like big layoffs, and the stock like jumped like 10%.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. It's like shit like that where it's like, look, I understand if you're an executive of a company, there's going to be different motivators, and there's, I'm sure, a bunch of useless like middle management types in a company as big as UPS. But should we be consistently like firing Americans and doing this H-1B bullshit? No. And especially if we're going to do, like, people are talking about AI, how it's going to replace all these different jobs. And it's like, well, what do we need H-1Bs for? Why do they need to be here? Right. And so that's where I think we're getting to a kind of moment or kind of attitude change. And as far as the political situation goes, like, I'm basically waiting for people to catch up to where I am. It might take 5 or 10 years. We'll see. But I think we are getting to a stage where enough people just say, fix it. And that means we're going to like put violent criminals in jail, and we're going to punish people for like their crimes. But we're not going to sit around and wait and have like these leftist judges that are, I mean, some of the stuff like that they rule on is just, look, we can't have a country where like some of these leftist women judges have any power, and they are allowed
So
to
sexist.
keep like the ridiculous rulings they make.
Yeah, or especially if the, maybe one of those magistrate judges has an ownership share in a mental health facility, and then people who get arrested for violent crime continue to be, deemed insane by the judge, who is not a doctor. And then the people keep getting sent 14 times to that same mental health facility that the judge co-owns, and then come back out in the street and stab a Ukrainian in the neck on a train.
Well, here's the thing.
I mean, not that that happened or anything,
Here's the thing. Fab Guy's making another good point, right? I don't think the solution here is a bunch of people ending up in prison, right? I think we have to go back to old school, like ropes and guillotines and
ropes and guillotines. Stop.
Oh yeah,
bro.
for a lot of these crimes.
You're on that fantasy
street
without a rope.
No. I'm saying for people that are very much
Violent, repeat
guilty
offenders?
and right the guy on the bus
Dude,
who stabbed the Ukrainian girl, right?
Death penalty. We should be eye for an eye. That's why you
Look.
can go to sleep in Dubai with $1 million on your crotch and wake up the next day on a park bench with $1 million on your crotch. Nobody will take it from you.
Well,
Right.
that's the thing is I think if
We need-
we lived in a proper society,
Yeah.
right, you'd have like that guy would already be dead, right? It's not a question of if he's guilty or if he's like too stupid to stand for trial or like too incompetent. It's like
He wouldn't have
those
made it off that
people-
train.
those people should not be a part of society, and by letting them out or saying that he's too dumb to stand trial, you're punishing the rest of society with his presence basically. And like I'm not all for like every single crime is like got to be capital punishment, but there actually has to be consequences for everything from shoplifting to
Agreed.
right stabbing people on the subway to
Street takeovers.
Right.
That's another one.
all these different things, right? When you see like some of these New York Post articles, and I know it's rage bait, but on a side note, their euphemism guy, whoever writes their euphemism needs a raise. But basically you look at some of those articles like, okay, if we lived in proper society, we used to like we used to, right? This guy would be already gone. And I think that's where we've kind of gone off the rails with this. Like, not only do we have like a hyper financialized economy, we have a society that is way too focused on the legal system, and it's more focused on what is legal than focused on like what is right.
Yeah.
So
What you got against street takeovers, V? Don't you live your life one white girl neck stabbing at a time?
No, it's. I mean, how many
I
people
had to stab
died?
a
It's
sister.
the destruction of businesses. There's the safety concerns. And there's the litany of it. You know, everything. Quality of life issues should be handled with, seriousness, with all seriousness, and I think that's where it starts first. And the fact that they don't do that is just absolutely infuriating to me. You know.
Yeah, well, they do it where I live. Yeah, that shit doesn't go down.
Mhm.
Well, it's
Yeah.
because if somebody tried to stab a girl on the train, they get shot first. Like, it's just, so you're dealing with not to use the clutch term here or hack term. It's a systemic issue. The problem is endemic, which is what we're dealing with here. And this is why the fix-it politics may be the order of the day, because people don't care anymore. And this is a dangerous thing. When people don't care anymore, you start to get, the ropes and the guillotines and the pitchforks and the torches. And that one must understand that, and this came from the French Revolution, the thirst of the guillotine. What is it? The thirst of the guillotine cannot be quenched, because they'll go down the aristocracy and then they'll start going to the friends of the aristocracy. And then, where do you end? My neighbor has a, slightly better rims than I do on his VW Bug. Like, I gotta chop his neck. Like, so yeah, there's a lot of talk of killer, like, I don't know.
Well, I think just as important of a question is, where do you start, right? And I think you got to start with the people that are obviously guilty of murder, like we are kind of keep referencing on the subway, and it's people that are right. When you kind of look at some of these different things, when you can have a certain set of people or people with the resources and means to effectively get away with murder or child trafficking or whatever your crime of choice may be. But point is, when you can get away with that, or economic fraud, or some of these different things, right?
I got to jump in here. All right. So here's the thing. The guy, sorry to interrupt you, but what's being missed right now is the guy on the train. The reason that he could do that is the judge who let him out 14 times. So starting with the guy on the train, I mean, that's like you see one cockroach and you step out in the kitchen, but all the ones in the walls keep going.
Yeah, which is fair. But I'm saying you start to make examples of people, and people are going to start to act better. And
True, but here's the thing. In that area, if you go make an example of that guy, you go in front of that judge and you do not go to the puzzle factory. You go to the chair.
well, I think
So who's going to be the
judge-
first one? Who's going to be the first one to bring out the rope?
Yeah,
Because we know
that's
what
the
that
question.
consequence is.
Yeah,
We know what happens after the rope. So the problem is anarcho-tyranny. The problem is people in charge not punishing the violent criminals, and even worse, the oligarchs who are robbing us. And then the people in charge punishing the little guy for saying the wrong thing on Twitter. Right? So, I mean, I'm all for taking violent people and putting them down in whatever way is best. I'm good for that. But when you start doing that, you're going to end up with a whole different problem. Right? And this is the same allegory that you have with, oh, why isn't Trump just do this or that and the other? Why? Because it kill him.
yeah.
The world is not as simple as get a rope, as much as some people, including myself, might like it to be in certain circumstances, right? So really the question is where do you start? And I think you have to start, well, you can't start at the top, Chris Newbury. That's how wars happen. You don't start at the top. There is no top. You don't know who the top is. You think Trump's the top? You think Putin's the top? No, they're not the top. You don't know who the top is. There's no way to start at the top. You can't start there. I'd say a good place to start is to locally start looking into who's in charge there, who's running things in your city and your county, and start looking into their background. That's what I'd recommend. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, I think you have a good point where, like no one knows who the real power players are in kind of behind the scenes, all those different things, right? People saying that Elon Musk or I guess Larry Ellison now is the richest guy on earth are just full of shit, right?
Yeah,
they're trillionaires, like family dynasties out there that are, I mean, have
their wealth isn't in
multiples-
money.
They have multiples of that as far as like net asset value or whatever, land, holdings, like everything. It's worth way more than some guys overinflated stock.
So people that own the color blue.
I mean, there's a lot of powerful like European families that have been around for centuries. So that's a long time for compound interest to do its thing, and a long time for criminal organizations and opium trafficking and all these other like forms of business that have seeded some of these empires, banking families, whatever, right? Take your pick. But no, it's not the Forbes 100 or whatever the list is not like some of those people are extremely wealthy, yes, but are they at the very top? No chance. No chance. So as far as the stuff you're kind of saying about the I guess slippery slope of like what happens when you start punishing people and going after different groups is like it like eventually we're going to need to make a choice, right? Do we want to keep going down the slippery slope of how things are currently headed with society, or are you going to say, hey, this is a completely different path, but it's time to start punishing judges, criminals, whatever, because by not punishing them, you're punishing the rest of society, right? And that's not something that will last indefinitely. So like I understand that it can spiral out of control and people can take it too far, and it generally ends poorly if you do take it too far. But I think eventually we're just not gonna have a choice, right? It's we'll see what happens, but it's either status quo or we start to have some changes happen and a change in people's attitudes over like how we deal with some of this stuff. So like there's no perfect solution. There's no
sorry, I
perfect
thought you were
solution.
done, Ben. Go ahead.
No. That was it. I was just gonna say there's pros and cons to each approach. There's no perfect way to figure any of this shit out. So
What do you think, V? You think we're gonna get the bad guys up there?
No.
You don't think some concerned citizens could decide whether
No,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
not going to be that. It's not going to be
No.
vigilante justice for those guys. It's
I
going to
mean,
be
no concerned citizen. It's not going to be.
it'll if anything, it'll be like one faction of elites making moves on another faction, like
Yeah,
other powerful people. Where you
that's
see
all it is. It's just one faction against the other faction. Anybody who thinks there's going to be some organic, naturally grown resistance to this whole entire thing that's going to turn this country around,
no,
it's not going to happen.
it's
If you guys haven't gotten the memo, I'll be the first to announce it. Western civilization is pretty much dead as a doornail at this point. I don't know how the West is. I don't know how the West is going to crawl itself out of the pit it's dug itself. I challenge anybody to go to Europe today. Just go spend a couple of months out there, okay? And I deal with people that are in Europe that are Europeans. Some of them are dynastic, in the sense that their family's been there for a very, very long time and have a ridiculous amount of wealth. And we sit around, we talk, and I'll tell you right now, it's not looking good, bruv.
It's not looking good, bruv.
There's no so what's going to happen is there's going to be some sort of factional war. We're in a factional war. It's already here. And whatever faction wins is going to dictate what it's going to look like on the other side of it. Western Europe is persona non grata on the global scale. It's going to remain that way. The United States will rescind into a regional power. It's already occurring. In terms of its populations, it can, get some people that don't belong here out of here as best to its abilities. But at the end of the day, the power structure likes one thing more than anything else, more than culture, more than civilization, more than anything else.
Cheap
it's
labor.
Power and wealth. That's what they love more than anything else. And they control the men with guns. They control the men who commit the violence. So at the end of the day, it's nothing organic, unless, of course, you have an austere leader who rises organically and is able to somehow capture the population and, do what it takes. And that's like, I think you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning twice in your own bathtub.
Well, he'll get killed.
Correct.
They'll kill him.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
The only way
thing
that
is-
works is if one of the factions adopts them, and then they're going to have to play whatever game that faction wants them to play, and then you end up, where you're caught between all these things and you can't get nothing done because,
they will never allow a modicum, not even a minute modicum of out of controlledness. This will be a managed decline, and a managed reordering and a managed hard reset. They're not going to allow bedlam and mayhem to completely erupt. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. I think there will be, there's some form of natural things, but then it typically gets co-opted or brought into the system with a faction of elites, and that's where I think Trump has kind of been over the last, especially in the second term, where there's actually a great video that I was listening to. It was have you guys heard of Peter Turchin?
Mm-mm.
So he wrote a book called End Times, and it was basically, it's not exactly the same as the Fourth Turning, but he talks about some of these things that destabilize societies, whether it's income inequality, elite overproduction, some of these different things. It was, what was it? Thoughtful Money, Adam Taggart's YouTube channel. So definitely worth listening to for anyone that has the time. But basically, I haven't gotten his book and read it yet, but it was, I guess the podcast was kind of a preview of the book from what I could tell. And I think one of the things that is interesting that the Fourth Turning didn't really talk about as much is the role that elites play as far as, look, it's not going to be something where 80% of the country stands up and you naturally have some guy rising to power. It's going to be an organized elite minority is way more powerful than just a mob of hundreds of millions of people that are kind of frustrated with how things are going, right? And that's where I think you're seeing some of the stuff start to happen. I think we're kind of in the transition phase as far as the kind of counter elite, which is the term that Turchin uses, fighting the current kind of bureaucracy, the entrenched elite powers. So I think that we'll kind of see where it leads in the next 5 or 10 years. I don't think Trump is the like emperor that, or like Caesar figure, but I do think in the next 5 or 10 years, like we're going to have a very good idea where this all heads. And on that front, I'm actually still pretty optimistic. So I think America has certain advantages that are not going anywhere. It's all over for Europe, unfortunately. Sad to say, but I think the U.S. has certain things that, right? Is it going to be straight up and to the right as far as society, culture, the economy, markets, everything? Like, no. I think the next 5 years are going to be probably a shit show.
Yep.
But I still think we come out the other side and we're in a pretty good spot in 10 years, 15 years. So
somebody wrote an article said NYC is about to turn into Caracas on the Hudson. I was thinking more like Sao Paulo on the Hudson.
Who wrote that?
Oh, let me see. Let's see who wrote this. Oh, looks like Trump Treasury chief said that.
Bessent did?
Bessent said it.
No way.
Caracas on the Hudson, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of an insult to Caracas, if you ask me.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think New York City is going to be just fine. I think you're going to have a shit ton of people leave. There's going to be a severe drop in real estate values, which needs to happen. Nobody could live there, and it'll go through this. New York City goes through ebbs and flows. You know,
I mean, it looked like Lebanon back in the late 80s.
Yeah, dude. I mean, my wife grew up in the Bronx back in the 80s. If you've seen it looked like Beirut.
That's what I mean.
Back
Yeah,
in the 80s. It was nuts. And you know, burned out buildings. So that's when people say the Bronx was burning. Times Square was known as Crime Square. You know, it was brutal, man. Absolutely brutal.
I think they tried to pull that during the scandemic, during the summer of hate, when they were burning down cities and the real estate prices dropped. I bet you some people were swooping in for that money.
Yeah, they were. They tried to do that crap in the city, and a lot of these Pantifa idiots were bussed into New York City, especially in the Bronx, and they got their asses kicked. Like they had the shit kicked out of them.
Gosh, that's the real
because
New York.
that's the real New York. Real New Yorkers don't fuck around. You know, I think what's going to happen is this: there's going to be a drop in population, and there's going to be a hard reset in New York City. It needs to happen, and it's gonna, whatever happens on the other end of it. I really don't care what happens on the other end of it, because my whole point is, it's like, it's completely unaffordable when you're paying $5,000 a month in rent for literally a walk-in closet. Okay, if I can show you these 75 square foot apartments that are available in New York, it's stupid.
You say 75 square foot?
Yeah, like literally, it's like nothing.
It's
literally
a closet. You can barely lay down. Like,
yeah,
it's like you have a bed that folds into the wall or something. Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, I'll show it to you. It's like, it's crazy, man. You know, like I'll pull up a video just to show people that are not in New York, just to show you how bad the living condition is, right?
They got to make up for all the rent control buildings they're losing money on, you know.
Well, not only that, the rents of it's. I'm kind of back and forth on the whole rent control thing, right? And it's just like you gotta have some aspect of it, otherwise it's batshit crazy. There's so much waste in city spending that there's not enough housing. There's not enough affordable housing. It needs to happen. You don't build society just catering to the fucking rich. You have to have something for the working class so they can graduate to the middle class, and something for the middle class so they could graduate to the upper middle class, and the upper middle class would graduate to the higher classes, and so on and so forth. But it's like in New York City, it's just something for the poor who have a hustle, and the wealthy have a hustle, and then everybody else is just fucked. Oh, here's one 90 square foot apartment. Watch this thing. This is like insane.
Yeah, my apartment's not huge, but It
It
makes
just the apartment looks just. Oh, never mind. I was gonna make a joke, but
Look at this shit, dude.
We're super close.
what the hell? Oh, that's like they have in like Hong Kong and like Tokyo.
$650 a month, dude.
Yep. Look, for this.
Sheesh.
650 a month.
For this, wait, come on. Here we go.
Yo, welcome to my apartment.
Yo, this space.
You have a
is
dog
so
in there?
small.
That's
How much do you
animal
pay for
abuse.
it?
650.
That's terrible.
What's the square
Seriously.
footage?
80 by 150.
That's her whole apartment, bro.
It really just feels like a walk-in closet. Like,
It's in
You can never progress. Like, it's so fucking crazy.
Midtown, so it's nice because it's not in a random spot
like in Brooklyn or something.
like in Brooklyn.
Oh wow.
That's where she
This
sleeps.
is the kitchen, no oven.
Are these clean or dirty
No, they're
dishes?
so dirty.
They're so dirty. This is like the only
All right.
showing space you have kind of
Oh my
everywhere.
How much is that
Yeah.
apartment?
I think she's paying like $650 a month
Oh, okay. Well, at least
for a
it's cheap,
shoebox.
you know. Somebody said it in the comments, like, well, here it is.
There's
Like,
no bathroom, bro.
Well, yeah, you go in the
It's kind of-
kitchen. You have a bucket. So here he goes, but it's a clean 75 square foot.
It's clean. There's another one.
How much do you pay for rent in New York?
You know I have the smallest apartment.
And what do you pay?
1100.
Rent one up?
One up.
Oh wow, this is nice.
Round 2 of my tiny apartment.
Wall to wall.
That's it.
86 square feet.
Yeah, smaller than I thought. 5'9", 5'10".
No
If you're 6
bathroom,
foot,
man.
this would be,
So you just shared a
that's
bathroom.
big.
It's like
After
being
we
at the
made our
Y.
video, what kind of happened?
On the news a bunch.
Alex and I made a video a couple months ago, and since then he was
Yeah.
able to launch his new social media career and quit his job delivering for Uber Eats.
How much do you pay for rent in New York?
He's able
that's how they-
to
that's
quit
how
his
they do it.
job because he's got a tiny apartment.
Yeah.
That's peak 2025, where it's
Yeah.
just like, oh my god. Yeah. Anyway,
That's
on
rough,
and
man.
on.
Yeah, you're sharing a
and
bathroom with
on
like, you know,
and
like
on.
5,000 people. It's
Yeah.
better, you know, it's like being in a college dorm, basically.
yeah, that's brutal.
Oh.
But I think New Year eventually you can bounce back. But if the whole finance industry decides enough's enough and goes to Miami and or Texas,
They've already started.
Oh, they've definitely already started. It's been
Oh,
going
yeah.
on for the last decade, especially Miami, but or I guess Florida in general, kind of centered around the Miami area. Right? If Wall Street loses like finance, which they won't lose completely, but if it really starts to fade, then I don't know how it doesn't turn back into a shit show like it was 30, 40 years ago.
It'll turn to a shit show and then it'll even out and probably. I mean, it's
Maybe.
still the
Ebbs and
city and they got, dude, New York's I love the place, even though it's full of idiots. There's a lot of good people there.
You got to also
I'm
understand
sorry.
some of the most talented, smartest people in the world live there. As
Yeah,
well,
for
because
sure.
Infrastructure wise, this is why there's no replacement for Silicon Valley in the United States. Why? Silicon Valley specifically, everything about it is garnered and gleaned for tech. And for New York, it's kind of like the same thing. It's geared for finance. You know, it's hard to. A lot of guys that go to like Miami and Florida are finding it hard to replicate. There's a reason why J.P. Morgan just built a $3.5 billion skyscraper as their headquarters in New York City.
I'll put you this way as my closing thought. Shit, I had a really good one and it's gone. Damn it. Was I gonna say? Oh well, I'll have to get it back later.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I think
Oh yeah, you can't replicate the Southern District Court, right?
yeah.
You're never going to replicate the Southern District Court anywhere else. That level of corruption.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one reason finance will stay in New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is true. We'll see where it goes, but I think there's a bunch of changes, and I for one am like looking forward to like the fix it politics, like kind of becoming a bigger thing. It's gonna take some time, obviously, but I think you're starting to see signs of it in some of the stuff we've been seeing more recently. So that's what I have for today.
Ben Broadway Kelleran is with us, folks. Ben Broadway Kelleran. That's his new name. I'm gonna call him Broadway.
That sounds terrible, dude.
I love it, though. It's so flamboyant. All he's missing is to be live on cam with a fur coat and sunglasses. That's as he's dishing out everything about the energy and commodity markets. Ben, hey, I just gave you a tip, bro.
Fur coat, Bono sunglasses.
Yeah. Broadway Ben. That's your new name. Broadway Ben Kelleran. That's it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We'll see. We'll see.
At least you didn't put him on the deuce.
What? I'm on the deuce, bro. all the
Yeah,
time.
right. You're on the deuce.
I'm on the deuce right now doing a live show.
No, not that deuce. Are you in the kitchen? You must be in the city.
No, I'm. Yeah, well, my deuce is in the kitchen.
Okay, all right. Enough.
Yeah,
all right.
my toilet is
Let's,
right
let's
next to
give
my
Ben
sink.
one show
You know,
without talking about feces or sex. Jesus Christ.
Challenge level.
Hold on, guys. Peter Thiel's calling me. I think that's. He wants to show me his Antichrist again.
Yeah. Make sure you ask for stock options next time.
What do you think I'm doing this for, bro? I'm a cheap whore.
Oh boy.
Oh, I love it. Only here on Rogue, folks. Guys, we got Tom Luongo next, right?
Yeah, he's like right now.
Okay. All right. With that being said, Broadway Ben Kelleran, folks, go check him out. Kelleran's Corner, contrariancorner.com. With that being said, Cowboy, take it away.